In my opinion, credit is a lot like fitness and nutrition, because there's a lot of rumors out there and pretty much everyone's an expert and just super excited to share their opinion, even if most of the time it might be coming from a place that's a little bit misinformed. And odds are the statements that a lot of people are sharing aren't entirely true. So with that, let's jump into the top 8 credit myths that I hear most. And if you're not aware of them, they could be holding back your score. So the first one that I hear all the time is having too many credit cards is going to hurt your credit score. And this begs the question then, if you're gonna have too many credit cards, then what's the right amount of credit cards? What's the right amount of credit lines to have open? And I'm gonna have to answer it with an answer that I absolutely hate, but the answer is it kind of depends, and it's a little bit case by case. But real quick, allow me to elaborate. So 30% of your credit score is going to be based on the amount of debt that you owe in respect to your total available credit. And this is something that is called credit utilization. And in an ideal world, you would always keep your utilization below 20%. So for example, let's say you have a $10,000 limit, you have $2,000 of used credit, and below 10% would be even better, but 20% is a good benchmark to make sure that you never go over. So next, let's take the amount, what you're gonna do is you're gonna take the amount you spend on a typical month on a credit card and multiply it by 5. And that's the amount of credit that you should have available open to you at any given time. So you never breach that 20% threshold. And if your credit limit is lower than that, then you should either ask for a credit limit increase, or what you can do is you can apply for another card or two to boost the amount of available credit you have and basically boost your score. But if 20% is the minimum you want, but if 20% is the maximum you want, you might be asking, then wouldn't having any more credit cards over that, hurt your score or be unnecessary? And the answer to that is actually no. Having more cards is actually really likely to help your credit score, because first off, it's going to reduce your amount of credit utilization and increase the total number of credit cards you have, as well as on-time payments, as long as you're making them. And generally speaking, there's really no such thing as having too much credit, too many credit cards, too many credit lines, as long as you're making all your payments on time. Having more available credit and more credit lines is actually going to help your score. And personally, at the time of making this video, I have about 15 credit cards open right now, which really freaks out a lot of people when I say that. They think I'm crazy. They assume I must be in total debt. But listen to me with this quick analogy to help this make sense. Instead of viewing every credit card you have in your wallet as a negative, you really should be viewing each one as social proof to other banks to show that you're trustworthy. And as long as you're using them responsibly, they're going to be benefiting you tremendously over not only the short run, but the long run as well. And to illustrate this real quick, what I mean by this is, say someone random on the street asks you to lend them $100. You're probably gonna say, absolutely not, get out of here, I'm not giving you $100. But what if someone asks you for $100 and 10 people that vouch for you, saying things like, hey, I lent that person $100, they paid me back. I lent that person $100 and they paid me back on time every single month. Another friend's like, hey, I lent them money and they not only paid me back, but they paid me back with interest. And we've had a great relationship of lending each other. I'm lending them money, they're paying me back, so on and so forth. You'd probably be a lot more likely to give that person money, right? Because it's literally, and this analogy that I just gave you, it's literally the same thing that happens when you apply for a credit card, say with Visa. They're going to look at your credit score, all your credit. And if you already have other credit cards open and have positive relationship with other banks such as Barclays, MasterCard, American Express, well, those banks are actually going to be vouching for you, saying like, hey, Italo paid us back, he's trustworthy, he's going to pay you back too. As opposed to say you have absolutely no credit cards or very few, right? It's a lot less convincing to the bank that you're asking to have credit extended to you from, because you don't have any proof, you don't have any history, right? So establishing those relationships with bank is going to help you establish your credit history and establish your trustworthiness. The next myth that I hear all the time is using cash or debit for everything is going to help your credit score. And I kind of understand the thinking behind this because it's pretty simple, right? Paying cash, if you're paying cash or debit, it means there's going to be no missed payments, right? And basically no missed payments mean a good credit score, and the assumption is also that not using credit means a good credit score, which is, trust me guys, is definitely not the case. Paying cash or using debit cards, gift cards, checks, Bitcoin, whatever, does absolutely nothing for your credit report, nothing for your credit at all. So basically think of it like this, right? No credit history, if you're using these things, you're not establishing any credit history, you're not making any on-time payments, you're keeping your utilization low, but from a credit standpoint, you really don't even exist at all, which is kind of like applying for a job or something when your resume is empty. Just because there's no negative marks on your resume or past employers don't have anything poor to say about you, it doesn't necessarily mean that you've done anything good and you're a good candidate. So I hope that makes sense. And more likely than not, what happens too is if you're not using credit, it's going to create something for you which is considered a thin file, which basically means you don't have enough data on your credit report to even generate a score, right? So in the eyes of credit, you don't even really exist. And trust me guys, this is not, a good thing at all. It's like assuming that somebody likes you, but they really have no relationship with you. They don't even really know who you are. They haven't even heard anything about you. You don't even really exist. So if you want to build your credit, easier way to do it, use a credit card responsibly. So the third myth is that checking your credit score is going to hurt your score, okay? And this is partially true because in the world of credit, there are two different types of checks. The first check is a hard inquiry and a soft inquiry. And a hard inquiry occurs when your credit is pulled as a result of some sort of application. It could be for credit card, mortgages, car loans, basically anything that's pulling your credit to check it to see, if you're a good fit to, be approved for a loan or purchase or something like that. And each hard inquiry is going to temporarily ding your credit score for a few months by, a few points, really depending on, a couple factors. So yes, checking your credit that way is going to hurt your score temporarily or ding it. The next way to check your score, which is totally fine, is called a soft inquiry. And basically this is when a company or a credit report is pulled for something such as a background check, just checking to see, and soft inquiries have no effect on your credit score whatsoever. And also, checking your own credit has no effect on your credit score whatsoever. And you can use free apps like Credit Karma or Credit Sesame, and more likely than not, the credit cards that you bank with are going to provide you with a monthly free credit check. And I do want to make a quick note about Credit Karma and Credit Sesame is they don't offer your exact FICO score. They offer to use something that's called a FACO score, which literally means like fake. It's kind of a play on words of like fake and FICO. And it's not your exact FICO score, but it's usually pretty close. So I definitely, use those to kind of just keep an eye on things. And the fourth myth about credit that I hear all the time is you should close accounts after paying them off, or if you do something negative with that account, like miss a payment or something like that. And this myth just keeps persisting because so many people just think that closing an account will remove it from your credit report, therefore hiding, it from future lenders in your history. And you guys, this is not the truth. It might be the truth if, say, you get in a bad relationship, you can delete all the pictures you have of your ex on social media, you can erase that. But when it comes to credit, it is going to remain on your score even if you close an account, and it's even going to be there, up for the next 10 years. So generally speaking, you pretty much never want to close a credit account unless you have a reason to do so. And some common reasons are going to be to avoid annual fees. Maybe you want to transfer your credit to another card just remember, never close an account just for convenience. It is so worth it just to keep it open. And you guys, I personally have about maybe 7 or 8 credit cards that I just put in a separate wallet. It never leaves the house, and I just use it, once a year to just donate to some charities so they're not closed due to inactivity. And that's pretty much it, just to keep them open and keep that credit history building. And closing an account has a lot of negative effects too, to just touch on real quick. It's going to reduce your total available credit, which is going to affect your utilization and your account numbers, and it's basically going to cause your credit score to just fall overall. So the best course of action is to just keep your accounts open and in good standing, even if you rarely use them. The next myth is that credit reports are only used for financial purposes. That's why so many people are like, I'm just gonna do everything with cash and debit and I'm gonna be fine. But you guys, this is a myth, and your credit score actually has a lot to do not only with a lot of different financial decisions that you're making with banks and need to get approved for, but in reality, your credit score and your credit report can be a factor in determining a couple different things in your life. And right off the top, I know that, say, for example, you're looking for a job at maybe a bank or some financial institution. This can play a role in different employment decisions. And while these corporations cannot see your actual credit score, employers are going to be able to see a modified version of your credit report that's going to include information about loans, credit cards listed on your report, and help make a decision whether or not to hire you. So this is pretty important because it would just suck, right? If you get all the way towards, you find your dream job, you apply, you get it, and then at the last lap, they check your credit and it's not where it needs to be and they don't hire you, right? So this would be just such an easy thing to deal with, to get potentially a job that you would love. Another important role that credit plays is when you're applying for a new place. Your landlord, they might check your credit because they want to know you have a history of paying your bills on time before you're in charge of paying them every single month for the property. So right off the bat, those are 2 things that aren't necessarily related to opening anything credit related that are going to be affected by your credit score. And the next myth I hear is that credit can be affected by income, education, and net worth. And I'm just gonna be really quick on this one because your income, your education, your net worth, your ethnicity, your social status, your political affiliation, whatever, have absolutely 0 effect on your credit score, and that information is not even found on your credit report, okay? This means that getting a huge raise at work, saving up your money in your bank account, graduating with an advanced degree, whatever, do not affect your credit at all. If it's not on your credit score, if it's not listed there when you pull up your FICO or your TransUnion, then it doesn't matter. Those are the only things that your credit score is going to be looking at, is your relationships with the banks that you're doing business with from a credit perspective. The next myth is that you need to carry a balance to build your credit score. And I totally understand the thinking behind this because if you don't carry a balance on your credit card, how are you supposed to establish credit history, which is going to make up 15% of your credit score? And trust me, I know where this is coming from, because it's like, if you have no balance, if you're not leaving a balance month after month, how do credit cards know you're using them? How you establish credit history, so on and so forth. But this is absolutely wrong. You're definitely building a credit history regardless of whether you carry a balance on your card month to month. The only thing that carrying a balance is going to do is that it's going to leave you with a ton of interest charges that are most likely going to make having that credit card not even worth it. Even if you're earning a ton in rewards, those interest fees are definitely probably going to be more. So if you do find yourself paying interest fees every month, definitely realize that paying those fees are not helping your credit score. It's just costing you a lot of money. It's not like you need to pay money and interest to establish your credit score. What I suggest you do is pay down those balances immediately so you can avoid those interest fees and just reap the benefits of the rewards. So the last myth is, once a credit score is bad, is it can't be fixed. And this is really more of an excuse than a myth, right? Because, you know, people with bad credit just tend to bring this up because they see that huge mountain of work they have to put in front of them. And when they're confronted with that, it's just so much easier to throw their hands up and say, you know, my credit score is bad. It can't be fixed. This is it. This is who I am. I have a bad credit score. But the truth is, any credit score can be repaired with time, discipline, and honestly, you know, most likely for free too. So don't use that in excuse of a poor credit score. You've got all the tools right in front of you, most likely free online. So with that, I hope you guys enjoyed this video and learned a lot about a few different myths that could be holding back your credit score in the long run. I hope you use what I shared to improve your credit score. And if you learned something new about credit, be sure to hit a like button so, you know, I just get some feedback on this content and know if I should be making more. And also, you know, maybe comment a myth that you've heard that might be worth addressing to. Someone in the comments can learn from you. Maybe you can learn from them as well. And lastly, you know, I talk about credit a lot on this channel. So if you want to learn how to fix your score, get out of fees, and cash in on a crazy amount of rewards, you know, definitely hit that subscribe button. And with that, I'll see you guys in a future video soon. And lastly, I'll be linking a couple videos in the description that you can get a ton of value of. So check those out there too, and we'll speak soon. Cheers, guys.